All right, let's call the regular council meeting of Monday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, to order at 7 p.m. Please rise for the invocation and pledge allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity we have of serving the community, serving you, Lord. We pray that you continue to watch over us, give us the wisdom and guidance that we need, and help everyone to understand how things are going and how everything needs to be checked and balanced. For we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council, do we entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move. Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Do we have approval of the minutes?
I approve the minutes dated April 21, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Do we have any nominations for recognition? No nominations for recognition. We'll move on to certificate of recognition for Jen Womack for her work on Main Street.
All right. Yeah. Am I supposed to come up there, Tyler?
Yeah, you can come up. And I just wanted to tell you that we all appreciate you and all the stuff that you do downtown. And thanks for letting me lean on you for advice sometimes, so I
Yes.
appreciate it.
I feel, since the guy who actually replaced the door is sitting in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, moving on to citizens business verbal. Item 1, Jen Womack with community comments.
Can I come to the podium?
Yeah, you can, or whatever you're comfortable.
I'm pretty much comfortable wherever. A few of you have asked me my thoughts on the discussion on going about stuff in front of businesses along Main Street. I don't know, is it all downtown or is it just Main Street that the conversation applies to?
That's a good question.
Pretty much all of downtown.
Yeah, all down to the downtown section.
So I fully understand we're just one piece of that. Being able to do that is important to my business. You know, the merchandise we put out and bring in every night is important to enticing people into the store. You know, people don't even see our open sign. They see that we have stuff out. They see that our awning's out in the open signs secondary. I know there's talk of a permit and a fee, you know, and somebody made the comment to me, well, it's just $25. I wish I knew how many times a year I heard it's just $25, it's just $50, it's just $100. And as a small business owner, it really does start to add up. So while you're looking at ordinances along Main Street or downtown, I hope you'll look at some other things. You know, we have a car that's been sitting along Main Street with the windshield shot up on it. the site of Maverick for quite some time. I think those things need to be addressed. Our crosswalks either need to be painted over or enforced. You know, I regularly walk to the post office and you'll start across the street and the first person will say go, and you'll start across, and then the second person coming the other direction will blow by. And I fear that if we don't deal with some of those things, someone's going to get hurt. And also the speed limit in the downtown area, 20 miles an hour, and I don't see very many people go by at 20. And I'm up there pretty regularly, so, you know, the ordinances about putting stuff outside are really important, but I think we probably have bigger fish to fry, and I'd like to see some of those other things addressed too. So, and if any of you ever want to visit or have any questions on what we're doing, please feel free to stop by. We typically have a pot of coffee on, and glad to see all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. All right, moving on to agenda item under citizens business verbal number 2, Newcastle Recreation Board in regard to funding.
Hi, I'm Melissa Hammond. I am president of the Newcastle Recreation Board. I've brought the rest of the board with me this evening, and I'm going to actually turn it over to them and allow them to speak for us.
Hello, my name is Burl King. I'm the secretary for the Newcastle Recreation Board. And behind me stands the rest of the board. I'd like to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We're an all-volunteer board that donates our time because we want to serve and promote our community. In addition to our regular duties, we also commit to anywhere from 3 to 8 hours of state-required training to serve. In our role as rec board members, we are given no formal written stipulations from the city council on how to conduct our business for the community of Newcastle other than one. That one being that a quarter of our funds must go to 21 CCLC, otherwise known as the Summer Recreation Program. We have a current annual budget of $38,000. However, because a quarter of our funds are dedicated to one organization, that leaves the board with an effective budget of only $28,500 for the rest of the community. Recently, our reputation was tarnished by a very negative article that came out in the Newsletter Journal. Allegations were made against us by members of this council, and outright lies told. I'd like to address some of these tonight. One, it was claimed that the Recreation Board has funded events outside the city limits. This is not true. The 2 incidents mentioned, post-prom and FCCLA, from 2 years ago, were not events that happened outside the city limits, and the money provided to them was for student activities whose memberships live in Newcastle and attend Newcastle High School. We still fund those organizations today. 2, we were cited with lack of representation at the city council workshop. The fact is, we were never informed of any workshop that took place that we were required to attend. After research, it was my understanding that the workshop was voluntary. However, if it is required, we would be more than happy to attend all calls for rec board representation. We just need a clear written directive from the city council for the requirements for our board.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there, because I didn't know that, full disclaimer, I had the board in my office today because they wanted to address the article in the newspaper, and they wanted to discuss, the budget session that we had prior. So I invited a couple of council members. I knew that some of you were gonna be tied up in work. It happened during the business day. I didn't realize you were gonna come in, hot and heavy tonight. So the premise of the meeting was so that we could discuss your lack of availability at our budget session, that you were provided written notice, you were provided an email, you were provided mail in your mailbox, and you were provided a phone call.
But those
So, hold on, that's enough.
They didn't state that we were.
No!
We
That's
weren't required-
that's enough!
We weren't required to be here.
So,
It didn't say we were required to be here.
listen!
That's what we're asking.
Where's my chief at? You're out of order, that's enough, okay? So the thing is, we had a nice discussion in my office today, and it stood to reason that when you're coming in to ask for funding for the rec board to continue to function, that you should come in and ask the one entity that gives you that funding in person. I understand that it ended up overlapping with your regularly scheduled meeting, but it also seems like common sense to me that you would provide somebody to come to the meeting and discuss funding, your sole funding, for your board to exist. So we just asked why no one was here. We asked why no one was here, and then you guys read a newspaper article and got upset about it, and now you're coming in here hot and heavy with this very pointed speech that you've written out, and it was a nice discussion that we had earlier. So maybe just knock it down a peg and we can talk about this. Go ahead and continue with what you have written. Does the council have any questions for the board right now? No?
Kind of hear their story, they're back and give them an opportunity to speak.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your comments. And if you would allow me to continue, I think you will find that these things are mentioned as well. We've rescinded some of these statements. We just want to be completely transparent and open, not only with you and your mayor's office, which we appreciate the meeting this afternoon, but we want the entire council to know of our issues and how we're trying to resolve them.
Continue.
Thank you. It was claimed that Clerk Hagerty faced issues getting the rec board budget on time. The fact is that over the last 6 months, our board has struggled. Over the last year, we've lost 6 members of a 7-member board. These members were Paul Bow, Cassie Heyman, Misty Harrigan, Ed Beeson, Nathan Streeter, and Dakota Toth. At one point, this board was down to 3 active members, which was the minimum required to legally conduct business for our organization. The fact is, the remaining board members have been diligently recruiting new members and continuing to do our job. The board has undergone some restructuring. We now have 4 solid active members and are seeking even more. Even during this time, the budget was still delivered to Clerk Hagerty in as timely a manner as was possible. The fact is, the Recreation Board works very hard to serve this community. And we do not appreciate being dragged through the mud in public forums such as paper. However, we've been working with the mayor's office on these issues, but we also wanted to bring these matters to light for the entire council. This was our goal here. It was not an attack. It was a simple acknowledgement of the issues that we are facing as volunteer board members in the city of Newcastle. What we would like to do now is invite some people from the city that we have served over the years to speak on our behalf. If you will allow that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. Mayor, I have a letter that I would like to give to you guys for your perusal, but I would also like to read it because as we are experiencing, sometimes the written word loses the meaning behind the words. This letter that I'm about to share for you guys is from Shane Ankeny, the owner and visionary behind First Steps Productions, which I also represent as well. Me and Shane run it. So without any further, I will read what Shane has written for you guys. He couldn't be here, he was ill tonight. Attention Newcastle City Council. I'm Shane Ankeny, owner of First Steps Productions and founder of the GBS CIDP Global Support Organization, both based right here in Weston County. I'm writing this to the council on behalf of a mission I set out to accomplish right here in Newcastle, and that is bringing entertainment back to Newcastle. Starting in March of 2024, I started hosting several open mic events in Newcastle, Wyoming, and in May of 2024, I hosted the first Gateway of the Black Hills singer-songwriter competition in Newcastle. This competition brought 16 musicians to town and a big crowd of fans and followers. And we held the second annual Gateway of the Black Hills singer-songwriter competition just 2 weeks ago here in Newcastle. Again, this was a huge success, bringing even more musicians, some from as far away as Western Montana and Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Our event this year got the name Newcastle, Wyoming, recognized in media with Black Hills News and even with Midwest Country Music Organization. This year we struggled with private sponsorships, and very understandably with some economic holds and whatnot. So this year, our biggest support to make this event actually happen for our community was the assistance of 3 local organizations: the Weston County Travel Commission, the Weston County Arts Council, and the Newcastle Rec Board. The assistance of the Rec Board was a huge reason we were actually able to pull this off this year and last year. This year, we did a back-to-back project with a strategic effort to help bring people into Newcastle on a Saturday and then promote people to stay in Newcastle for the night for a following Sunday presentation as well. This promoted stimulation of local restaurants, fuel stations, and motels. The Rec Board's assistance was exactly 30% of our overall funding assistance to make this project possible. These events not only promote businesses in Newcastle, but also helps promote music entertainment in our area, as well as being a supportive event of the Guillain-Barré syndrome awareness for medical education for our community.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
We have found a lot of struggle bringing entertainment to the community of Newcastle, and most of it is that it's hard to drum up the support in Newcastle. I had been asked several times to move this event to Spearfish, South Dakota, and I have stood strong with keeping it here because I want Newcastle to have this. This event grew by 25% on population this year, and I aim to continue to grow the event with the goal of making it one of the largest singer-songwriter events in the Mountain West area. But I will simply not be able to make this happen without the support of the Newcastle Rec Board. I need them, and I appreciate them for helping make this happen. I also put on the Weston County Boot Scootin' Boogie for New Year's Eve this year. a new event for Newcastle that was a family-friendly event filled with games, dancing, music, and most importantly, the gathering of our people in our community. I would love to keep doing this as well. I paid solely for this one, but with the help of these local organizations, I think this could be a huge midwinter event for Newcastle. We gave out over 130 adult wristbands at this event, and many of those people had kids that attended as well. We offered safe ride programs, food, and most importantly, we taught a good crowd of people that you can still gather together with family and friends and have a safe and great time in Newcastle. Newcastle needs this. Adults need this. Kids need this. We need things like this to continue to grow, and a big support in making this happen is the Newcastle Rec Board. Thank you, Newcastle. Shane. It's your.
Thank you. Who's next?
Hello, I'm Scott McGuire with the Newcastle Ice Association, and I don't have a speech here. I came here to thank the board, or to thank the city council for supporting the board. We don't require a lot of money, but we do need some money because we have ice available for the community about 10 weeks out of the year this year. We definitely spend more money than we bring in. We don't really have volunteers there to charge people to skate. It's free to the public, and we're just happy to be able to maintain the ice and put it on for the people. So.
You're speaking about the summer rec program.
No, the Newcastle Ice Association, the outdoor rink that we have in town. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Thank you.
But park, so thank you. And I'm here to support the rec board, but I'm also here to thank you guys for the support you have given them in the past. And hopefully we can continue putting ice, making it available for the community to skate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council and mayors. Alan Vaughn, I'm a teacher and educator, coach here. I just wanted to echo some of the things that Scott said here. First and foremost, thank you. I've been in this community for 21 years now. When I first stepped into this community, I took a role on the board for about 6 years there to play a role with the rec board. And I know exactly how much it means to our community, for our kids. I'm gonna speak for our kids. That's why I'm here. It does play a huge role, and it gives us so many opportunities in a day and age where we have to be honest, our community it has fallen behind as far as what we're able to offer for our kids in comparison to a lot of our communities around us. I'll be honest also, I'm on my sunset years as far as being a coach and as far as my kids needing something like this. However, I'm still a very large proponent of being able to maintain this board and the funding that they're able to grant us to utilize with our kids in any capacity we possibly can. I understand that things have changed as far as economics goes, those kind of pieces there as well. I do want to give you a little testament as to what they've done for us. So they've helped us each of the last 8 years fund our Future Dogies basketball camp so that we can knock prices down for our kids to ensure that we don't have to turn a kid away at all. And you're looking at 75 to 80 kids every single year. They get to go in there for 2 days and have an absolute blast. It helps us to buy t-shirts for each and every single kid and to be able to do some of those kind of things that a lot of kids wouldn't have the opportunity to do if there wasn't funding there as well. They purchased 4 adjustable baskets for us that we use throughout the entire year for so many programs. And obviously I'm speaking from the basketball side in that instance, but we're able to reach so many kids locally here in our community because of some of those funding pieces there. And then the final piece there is they, in cahoots with our rec board, or sorry, our booster club, helped us to buy a new shoe-weight gun that we use virtually every single day with our high school kids. And so you're looking at about 25 kids every day throughout the year, and then those kids, as they graduate, we get more in that utilize it, that give them opportunities. So I want to thank you for everything that you've done, because I know from the side there, from sitting on the board and trying to go through some of those lean years as a board as well, where you couldn't always get funding. I understand those instances too, but please understand that we do put a lot of that money to very, very good use, and it is very meaningful for a lot of us. So thank you, I do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Who's next?
Good evening,
Hey,
I'm Jamie Beestrom, and I also am speaking for support. Many years I've been on various boards in Newcastle, from soccer league to booster club as well. Tonight I'm speaking from the post-prom committee. I just also am very thankful for everybody's support from the course of the years. I'd like to report that we had our post-prom this past weekend, and I think several of us are still recovering from the 3 a.m. cleanup, but we have a small group of high school. Our post-prom is open to freshmen through senior, so all 4 grades, and out-of-town dates are welcome. And so we were able to, in the last 8 years of being on post-prom, we average about 150 to 180 students each year. It's one night a year, and our main goal is to make sure that we provide a safe and fun opportunity for kids after prom. And with the support from the rec board, we were able to bring in a variety, and we try and switch up every year, a variety of activities. And so this year we had bull riding and laser tag, as well as darts, and a lot of our stuff, most of our funding goes towards the activity side of it. We do our gifts and everything are purchased locally. We try and keep everything as local as we can to also promote and provide support to our community as well. So we thank you for your support.
Thanks, Jamie. Is there somebody else that wishes to speak?
I think that was everyone, Mr. Mayor. Let me just conclude by saying that your rec board is an all-volunteer board. We want to work with the city council in every aspect to make the city of Newcastle an amazing place for recreation for the children and for the adults. We're not trying to attack anybody tonight. We just want to make aware of the issues and the frustrations that we as a board do go through on a daily basis or on a weekly or a monthly basis. I know we're working to resolve those issues, and we greatly appreciate that. And we feel that this is basically probably less than a fourth of the people that we actually do represent. And we help out every year in the community. And we know that the budget's probably not finalized yet, and that newspaper article is probably out of everybody's control. But when rumors get started, we just wanted to stop that as quickly as possible. And we also feel that an increase in budget for our board from $38,000 to $40,000 is not a huge jump, but it would greatly benefit the community. We believe it would, up to your discretion, and we're going to leave it with that. And I thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have some questions in the bubble.
Okay.
Not rebuttal, I noticed that you meet on the night that we meet. And we have right here, and I have been appointed to this board, and it's called the Board's Board, and Board Committee. And I can't go because I have to be here. And I'd like to request that you change your meeting night to the second Monday of every month, or
So-
something like that.
We've already done.
Mr. Boss, so we discussed this today in my office,
Okay.
and, they changed their regularly scheduled board
That's good
meeting
deal.
to the second Monday, so that they could be available, so that we could meet with them.
We did that a year and a half ago.
So then, it just so happened that it fell on our budget workshop night. And then I asked them why maybe they couldn't have moved it so that they could attend our budget workshop. And they had, arranged to have people there that were asking for funding. So it was kind of a conflict for them. So it was like a perfect storm of circumstances that led us to where we are now. But I guess you guys are asking for $2,000 increase on the amount of money that you're gonna be given from the city council this year if the board entertains giving them an increase. One thing I'd like to address too is it's my role as the mayor of this town to keep the meeting under control. So Melissa, I apologize that I became unsettled and got a little upset, but when I ask you to be quiet and you continue to speak, then that damages the whole meeting. So you'll be given a chance to speak. So maybe next time when I ask you to be quiet, let me finish so that I can then in turn allow you to speak. So,
I apologize, Mayor.
okay, I apologize too. Does anybody else have any questions for the board? I would also like to say that I really appreciate that all these folks came out tonight to speak on behalf of the Recreation Board. I think it's great what you guys do for our community, and I understand that every board, even this one here, has frustrations. So we're all just trying to do the best we can with what we got. So anyway, with that, I would ask the council if anyone would entertain a motion to increase the budget or the funding for.
I have a question real quick. Do you guys received any funding from the county at all?
No.
No, the county has their own recreation
Our complete funding budget comes from this council.
through the 1%.
In your talk earlier, you were talking about the summer rec board being 1/4 of the budget,
Yes.
and I have a lot of experience on the rec board. And I think that from the very beginning of the rec board, that their summer recreation is a part of it. And that's why they're there, because you are the arm of the city in our recreation program, and that was it. We've added several things since then, but summer rec program was the #1 thing that we wanted to do with the rec board.
Yes. We understand that, and we continue to support that wholeheartedly.
I just wanted to
We
share
would just
that.
like to evolve our board to be able to accommodate more and more recreational activities in the future for more and more groups, and not leave things static.
You are aware that the state government did change the taxes on real estate, and we are short of funds ourselves.
Understand, sir?
And my final remark is that I am an employee of the Weston County Health Services. Everybody in this room is aware of the reputation of the Weston County Health Services.
Understand, sir?
And my final remark is that I am an employee of the Weston County Health Services. Everybody in this room is aware of the reputation of the Weston County Health Services. We're also very well aware of the reputation and the opinions of the public of the city. And we're doing our part and trying to do our part to help bring positive things to our city and to help support and bring positivity to the city council in a huge light of negativity.
Thank you. So would anybody entertain a motion to give a $2,000 increase to the rec board for their budget? Anybody?
So, to go along with my previous question, I'm sitting here looking at some of the funding that you do. I've lived here all my life. I've been a part of multiple organizations. So as I look at this, and the reason I ask this question is we have several on here that involve the fairgrounds, the mini rodeo, the junior rodeo, right? And as I add these things up, we come to almost $14,000 for things that happen for the county. I get it's still benefiting Newcastle, but I want to make sure that the monies are being diversified evenly to where if we have things that happen in town, we can fund those things.
Well, and I will see things like the basketball camp, we fund the ice rink.
Yep.
We fund the two different events that the GBS
GBS
program and FSP put on that also brought large numbers. And at this point in time, those are events that bring an enormous amount of people to Newcastle who spend an enormous amount of money, which increase the amount of money in the 1% tax, lodging, food, etc.
One of the things that, and this is a question that I may have that kind of addresses yours, is one of the things that was brought up was the fact that we were funding events that were outside the state limits. And we've really never gotten any kind of requirements or stipulations on what that means, I guess. And so we use our best judgment when it comes to things of that nature. Even though this event may be hosted at the fairgrounds, it's still an event that is within the city limits. It's run and supported by people within the city limits of Newcastle, go to Newcastle High School, live in the community. So that's our basis for funding those types of events.
I would agree that the majority of them do go to school here, but like the mini rodeo, the junior rodeo, you're looking at kids from all over the county. The mini rodeo, you're looking from folks from all over. Granted, they are coming in, they're spending money here, but like I said, I just want to make sure that the funds are being divvied.
We're very diligent. We try to be very diligent in every effort to fairly distribute those funds to any organization. We do operate on a first come, first served basis, but we have limits on the amount of fund that we give, and we have requirements for those organizations before we give any money to them. They be solid organizations that are providing services to the community.
I have something to add to that. One thing that I've noticed is that on our application form, we ask very specific questions on what the money is to be used for. So it's not just handing somebody a check and saying, here, go use this. If it's the FFA wants to do a fundraiser, they're like, we need some seed money to buy popcorn or whatever that we're gonna sell at, the football game on Friday night. We can provide things like that with one exception. I'm not gonna get into it, but there is one line item that we are not allowed to ask any questions about. We are just told to give them money. And I feel like what we are doing as a board is vital to our community. So the increase that we're asking for is to be able to help more organizations to do more things. Because, and I said this to the mayor earlier in his office, Newcastle is worth it. And it breaks my heart when I see people say, oh, there ain't nothing to do here and they leave for the weekend. They leave, you know. That was one of our big motivations for doing the New Year's Eve thing, was because everybody is like, oh, we're going to Rapid to the, you know, to do this. We're going to Gillette to do that for New Year's Eve. We're like, you don't have to leave. We've got things that you can bring your whole family to, have a good time, and stay here in your community. And that's my biggest takeaway, is that our community is worth it.
I noticed on your budget, on the far right-hand side, that the Weston County Arts Council has been there for $1,500 twice. And I am the treasurer of the Weston County Arts Council, I'm past president.
I knew you were gonna ask that.
And I just want to let you know that we have become very successful at raising our own money, and that's why we have stopped asking money, and we haven't asked you for any for a couple of years now. And we want you to do that with all your organizations. You know, you're kind of seed money to get them going, and that's okay. But they're supposed to get out there and get their own money. And that's what the Arts Council has done, and that's what the rest of these people need to be doing.
Unfortunately, Councilman Boss, in this day and age, with the number of fundraisers that happen in our community and in Newcastle, the people of Newcastle, the citizens of Newcastle, don't have the money to support every fundraiser for every single organization and every single organization and athletic team in Newcastle High School, Newcastle Middle School, etc. So unfortunately, they don't all have the ability to raise every bit of money that they need for their program. For every bit of program, they cannot become self-reliant 100%. If that were to happen, then we would have an extremely poor community.
And one of the things we started doing is providing that seed money. Instead of providing them $1,500 to do X, Y, and Z, we provide them $300 to buy some supplies to do their own fundraising. So we'll support, you know, a hot dog selling contest or not contest, but a hot dog selling program or something of that nature at a different event like that.
For example, last year we provided the seed money for an organization at the fair to host for a family fun night to raise money for their own program. We put out an invitation to all organizations within Newcastle to request the opportunity to be the recipient of that and put forth the manpower to do that event. And the new youth group at the former Cambria,
so we've been trying to evolve our
so in order for them to be able to raise money to start their youth group, that is something that the fair board has asked if we would be willing to do once again this year. So that is an opportunity for another organization to give us some manpower. We provide a little bit of money for them to be able to have a successful fundraiser during the fair. And some entertainment for tons of families.
I have a question. You're saying you want $2,000 more? According to the budget you turned into, it was $800 less than last year.
Last year, from September to January, we did not have enough board members to be able to conduct full business. So we were not able to approve any funding requests during that time frame. There were many that we had to turn away.
So some of the stuff you didn't spend the money on?
No, some of them, those were not included in that. What we submitted was what we actually paid out.
Because my understanding is we're supposed to be a zero-sum game. Like, what you guys give us, we are supposed to give out every year. You know, through people asking us for.
It's never been a problem.
I know, but you gotta remember, for almost half the year last year, we didn't have a functioning board. There was only 2 members on the board, and this is this lady and this guy right here. And with 2 members, they are not legally allowed to just start cutting checks.
Mr. Mayor, what we have always thought is that you're an extension of us. If that ever happens to you again, you come here. This is your board. We'll help you be and do. And truly, you're not alone.
Well, thank you for that.
I was there when Paul resigned, and then I knew that you guys were kind of limping along because I was there with the board committee when I was still on the council. So Councilman Voss has a very good point. Like, you guys are an extension of the city. We provide oversight. Like, if you guys run into issues, then we need to be made aware. And that was like the function of the board committee, was so that we could actually get some of our membership out to see what our boards are doing, and then be able to come back and report to the council. So, because the way that works is, the only time we see you guys, usually in the past, was when you would come to the budget cycle to ask for funding. And then we didn't really see you guys again the rest of the time. So it's that communication factor that we're looking at. And when we get our wires crossed, it's because we're not talking enough. So, again, like, you guys are doing great work. We had a fantastic conversation earlier today, and I wish it was, didn't get overshadowed by my outburst, but, you guys are doing good things, and we want to see you continue to do good things. So, again, I would ask the council if you guys would entertain a motion to give them a $2,000 increase on their budget.
I would like clarification on something first. So, Mr. Voss, you said that are they still giving you money?
Oh, no, we didn't ask for it.
But it's on this paper.
Well, I think that was a typo.
Is that right?
Council, we can entertain a motion and a second.
I
We can
move
discuss.
that we give Weston, or the city,
Well, we were
Newcastle
discussing
Red
before
Bulls, another $2,000 for their budget.
Do we have a second?
Okay, now
We have a
we
motion
discuss.
properly seconded.
Yeah, we were
Is there any
discussing
further
before.
discussion? Yeah,
So
I asked for a motion.
what is the
So we
total
need to
right
make
now?
a motion. I asked for the motion. We're not making the
Well,
motion.
yeah, you made the motion a long time ago.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, what's the total they want?
They're asking for $40,000. We were prepared to give them $38,000, which was the amount that they were given last budget cycle. So, is there any further discussion?
Now.
Yeah.
Since the budget isn't approved, should it as a proposed budget?
I was gonna ask that because I don't think we had anything approved.
Right.
That was gonna be my word about discussion.
Darren, Mr. Downs, Councilman, what are you trying to say?
What am I trying to
I'm
say
trying to
about
listen
this?
to you, yeah.
I had to wait for the motion. Now we're on to something else.
No, this is the
We're in
motion,
the
this is
discussion
discussion
phase.
of the
I
motion.
understand that, but we're not discussing what I was discussing.
We'll discuss it anyway, go ahead.
I'm just curious about this saying $1,500 twice for the Arts Council.
Okay, and we're trying
So
to.
did you not say that a year ago you told them you didn't want any money?
Well, I didn't know, we just didn't present you have to sign a little piece of paper and you give that to them as a request for funds. We just haven't done that for a couple of years now.
I think I understand where the confusion is coming from this. We have two types of requests. We have a one-time where any Newcastle group can come to us and ask for a one-time seed money, help for whatever they're gonna do. And in my case, I understand this because we also asked for it again this year with the singer-songwriter competition. So then we went from being a one-time to being an annual line item. And I feel like that's more than likely something that got stuck in the budget as an annual line item where we weren't informed that they weren't going to be requesting the money anymore.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is $3,000 here that doesn't have to go to the Arts Council. Right? Because you guys don't need it anymore because you make your funds.
At this point.
So that's extra money.
Last year, this Councilman Boss said, yes, they didn't need it last year.
But this is
However, the
2025 and 26.
The column on the right is our proposed budget. Those are groups that come to us generally on an annual basis, whether it's a one-time event or an annual event.
But this is
However, the
2025 and 26.
The column on the right is our proposed budget. Those are groups that come to us generally on an annual basis, whether it's a one-time event or an annual event. And those are the items that we anticipate these organizations to request funds from us.
So these two just haven't been removed.
Well, at this point in time, there was one. Okay. No, that was for not the arts county.
That's not the same thing.
So there was a line
Anyway.
item there twice, can you just explain that?
So we do know that they have requested funds in the past.
Right.
They have events coming up this year that they may need the funds for.
So why twice?
They have different events. So one time, $1,500 is the maximum for a one-time event. So that's the maximum they can request up to. If it's an annual event, then they can request up to $3,000. It's the board's discretion whether we allow that much or not.
There's two different kinds of requests. Okay, one, like Little League Baseball, they get like $5,000-$6,000, okay? So they're the big guys, right? And then little people that don't need a lot of money just have that one-time request.
$1,500 or $3,000.
Yeah.
Those are the maximum amounts.
Okay, so maybe I'm a little slow, but you don't need this money.
But one
That's true.
person cannot speak for an entire council either.
And as well as, we were not, again, you said you didn't say, hey, give us the money, but we had it set up as an annual, so we had that money earmarked in the budget for them.
Now, if they need it
And we
in
weren't
another,
informed that they would need
And
it.
that
and
is
if they
true.
weren't,
For several years, we did ask for the money.
and if they don't need it, then an organization such as the Newcastle softball league were to come in and say, we need some help buying some equipment, or we need help buying some t-shirts for our teams.
So just
So
for
if the Arts Council doesn't
clarification,
need it, we can.
you left it on your budget just so that you would have that money available in case somebody needed it, right?
Yes.
Yes, there's always new organizations coming to us. We've got several of them that are potentials that approach us, come to our meetings and ask for information on getting money. They're organizing new events in Newcastle and new organizations, and that potential exists for that new organization will need some money.
Or for example, this year, with all of the different events coming into Newcastle, if one of those events were to happen to fall short on their budget and need something, they'd be able to come to us. If the Arts Council was like, nope, we're great, then we'd have some money to be able to give to one of those groups.
So you're basically just asking for a little bit of reserve funding, so in case something comes up, which it always does, right? Then you'll have some funding available to help with a one-time application or possibly a multi-year application or multi-ask. So, does that provide the clarification that you need?
I do have one more question. You said your max is,
$1,500 for a one-time event or $3,000 for an annual event.
so why are we giving the junior radio 3,500?
We gave them $3,000 for that and then for their annual, and then we gave them a $500 sponsorship on top of the $3,000 because of the amount of people in Newcastle that are impacted by them. That helps them be able to put on their event. That helps them to be able to provide T-shirts for all of their participants. They place our logo on all of their T-shirts. They also hang our banner so that we have some advertisement that we're out, that we're available.
Did you spend all your money last year that was budgeted?
At this time, they have not. However, our next meeting is next week, and we currently have I have in my hand 6 applications for funding requests right now.
So you'll probably zero out your
Before
budget.
by the end of the fiscal year.
Councilman Stevenson, you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to, because this is kind of an out of the ordinary reason, I wanted to kind of get into the motion and that for, when we put this in as a motion to add that in the budget for them. Typically, that's done during the budget session. We have not either denied any money out of what's been requested or accepted, obviously. I know during the budget session, like Council Boss said, that we had good questions through all service providers, not just you guys. We know that you guys do things around the community that supports activities throughout the community. I appreciate that because I've seen some of the impacts it has done. But when we were looking at shortfalls, everybody was kind of looking at shortfalls. We get questions asked of us that we don't really have the answers to. So we have to ask those questions back to these service providers. What's this for? So when you guys give us that information we don't know about, that makes us make a better decision for that.
Absolutely, I think that speaks back to what Mayor Owens said, is we need to have a lot more two-way communication between our board and the city council so that we have, I think, 90% of the problems that we're facing right now were from earlier today. Stacy looked, and I think of the numbers for your contact list, there was 1, maybe 2 that were still current. So, so if a phone call was made, but to somebody that's no fault of yours that you didn't know, and that's where that breakdown of communication was. So if the phone call was made, hey, we need, we would like somebody from the rec board to come to our budget workshop, but it was made to either somebody who's, I'm gonna say it was probably made to somebody who's no longer actively on the board. So then the message didn't get to us, or it fell on deaf ears, or it could have been somebody who harbored sour grapes towards the board and was like, oh, they need to be there. I'm not gonna tell them.
Well, that speaks to the fact that we lost several senior members last year. And the board that you see before you is practically brand new. And we're learning as we go, and we are working very hard to communicate much more diligently with you guys.
So, Councilman Stevenson, you're saying that we didn't need to entertain a motion because our budget's not set.
Yeah.
So basically, we could just say that we'll consider their request. So if somebody would like to, who made the motion?
retract my motion.
Rescind it?
You asked for it, I just,
And that's
trying to do what you asked me.
Yeah.
Make sure we had that discussion to be
No.
able to clarify that in
So-
my mind, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point, Councilman Stevenson. So, we will, I speak for myself as the mayor. I think the council is willing to entertain you guys' request for the $2,000 increase. And we do appreciate, the, further attempts at communication here. Most I've talked to you guys since I, was sworn in. So, and then board committee, they meet on the second Monday of, every month at 6 p.m. at the, Lodge and Convention Center, Newcastle Lodge and Convention Center. The Tubtown room, yep. If you guys would like to attend.
You may call.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, have a good evening. Okay. Moving on to citizens business writing, which there's none. Old business, ordinance number 2, series 2025, public nuisance of dog or cat. And I believe this is the last, final reading, the third reading. Ordinance number 2, 2025, an ordinance amending ordinance section 4-12 of the Newcastle Town Code. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Newcastle, Weston County, Wyoming, section 4-12 of the Newcastle, Wyoming Municipal Code be amended, reading in its entirety as follows. It shall be unlawful for any dog or cat owner to keep a dog or cat that is a public nuisance or permit a dog or cat to be a public nuisance. And each day that dog, or that such a dog or cat is kept or permitted to be a public nuisance shall constitute a separate offense. A dog or cat shall be deemed a public nuisance if said dog or cat A, excessively barks, howls, or yowls while outdoors and disturbs the peace and tranquility of any person, or B, chases motor vehicles, bicycles, or persons on foot, or C, destroys or injures property. Do we have a motion to pass ordinance number 2, 2025 on the third and final reading?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to pass ordinance number 2, 2025 on third reading.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Today is the 5th day of May. Okay, moving on to Newcastle Youth Softball League. And I regret to inform the council that I was very busy since our last council meeting, and I did not call any of the members of that would have signed this document. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
yeah.
I did speak with Mr. Medford today, and he is, that this is his signature, he actually did some changing on it.
Okay.
To make it more palatable for everybody. So, he's
comfortable
yeah.
with the council entertaining a motion to pass the memorandum of understanding for the Newcastle Baseball League, Newcastle Youth Softball Association, and Newcastle Soccer League for 2025. I know Ashley Tupper's okay with it because she's the one that sent it to me. The only one that I guess we didn't get to speak with then was Jennifer Lip Oster.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, talking with Mr. Medford today, they were aware of it as well, so.
Okay. Would the council entertain a motion to accept the MOU for the 3 entities listed?
So
We have a motion properly seconded to approve the Newcastle Youth Softball Association, Newcastle Soccer League, and Newcastle Baseball League memorandum of understanding for 2025. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
Greg, apologies, council. As it applies to the moving of the small storage shed, that provision is something that you couldn't do, correct?
Yes.
That's still in this, is it not? Under the sign memorandum?
Yes, in order to move that, we have built a utility corridor, basically, where we put it. So all our power, sprinkler system, control box, the whole 9 yards is right where they want this thing to sit. We actually moved it out of the area they wanted in order to facilitate putting everything in that we needed to. So to move it back, it would actually be in a way if a sprinkler line breaks or power line fails, then we have to pick it up and move it yet again. So we actually poured a pad to set it next to the building where it sits now. We would prefer not to have to move it back because it will be in the way of several things.
So
So is this
if the
wrong?
council passes this, then we would have to facilitate that. So with that information, I don't think that we could.
The council.
So we need to scratch number 4.
The council, I mean, obviously they'll have to re-sign it because it's a material provision. But what the council could do is they could move to agree to all other terms with that being scratched, and then that can be edited and they can sign it and send it back. Obviously, they're gonna have to re-sign it, but.
Gotta change your motion here. Councilman.
Yeah, I want to change my motion.
You want to change your
I
motion
want to change
to,
it to, well, or we could do what,
which item is that?
yeah, and just accept it with
With the removal of
number 4.
number 4.
Is that okay? That's my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded, is there any discussion? Any further discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.
What's been going on for so many years now is that is a concerted effort to destroy that nationalism. That is to take away the ability of a country to operate independently from a global, construction. And so Trump's come along and if he, and I, I'm always worried about what he's actually doing. Certainly appears like he's sincere, and he is in large measure disconnecting the United States from that global organism, and allowing it to prosper. The way it. I mean, he's headed that direction, and I am, very, for the first time in years, optimistic about how this might turn out.
MOU has been approved.
So we get a new copy of this then with that.
Yeah, they're gonna have to take it back now, and then they're gonna have to remove that, and all of the entities are gonna have to sign it. Okay, thank you. Moving on to, old business number 3, the, City of Newcastle application for sidewalk encroachment. Council, I've had a few discussions today in regard to the application for sidewalk encroachment. One of the folks that I spoke to asked why the business owners on Main Street were being punished with additional fees when we don't fairly enforce all of our other ordinances. I talked to another business owner that said that they were okay with the fee and everything as long as the revenue that was generated by the encroachment application went to a good cause, like beautifying Main Street or, taking care of our town. So it was my feeling through this whole process that we have an ordinance that currently isn't being enforced, and there was a problem, so it brought this to light. And the application for sidewalk encroachment was a way to allow the folks that were wanting to have things on the sidewalk a way to pay a nominal fee and be able to continue doing that. So, I don't know. Chuck, would you like to speak on this? You made the application, so.
Well, I guess I'd like to recommend to the council that if we can table this for a meeting at 6 o'clock with Becky Ivanovich, who's cleaning town hall She was the secretary for the previous planning commission. And apparently back in 2017, 2018, apparently the planning commission had looked at this and had all kinds of other recommendations for it. I'd like a chance to go back and dig through all those archives and see if we can get that info to the parents committee so that maybe we can get this resolved.
Okay, do we have a motion to table the application for sidewalk encroachment until a later date?
Table that motion.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
No, I gotta discuss one thing. In the meantime, they can still go put stuff on the front of the stores, can't they?
Correct.
Yeah, but it's not.
Except there's an ordinance.
Okay.
There is, but correct me if I'm wrong, there's no, as far as the ordinance.
There's no monetary.
There's no
Monitored.
monetary or anything that goes along with that as the ordinance reads, correct?
I don't recall there being one. The
And that was what
ordinance
the
for
whole
the
purpose of the
right-of-ways.
permit was.
I don't recall exactly the.
There's some summer season's coming, and I think I want them to be able to put up stuff on front of their stores.
So this came up.
If everybody gave us $25, it wouldn't be any money hardly at all, so.
If, well, you guys were proposing to do it by quarter, so it would be a little bit more than that, but, this came up when I was still on the council. The previous mayor brought this up, and the way the ordinance read to me, it said that if the public way was impeded, and it didn't really provide a lot of specifics as to what impedes the public way. We have big sidewalks on Main Street, so having an item on the sidewalk, to me, doesn't necessarily mean that the public way is impeded. It kind of depends on how many people are on the sidewalk, or, so I was wondering if this was something that even needed our attention in this manner, but now we're at where we're at.
Council, what is?
There isn't any allocation for a fee in that ordinance. Actually, what it states is issuance of said permit is completely discretionary. No right thereto is conferred by the section or any other section of this code. Said permit may be limited in duration or in any other manner deemed appropriate by the governing body of the city. So limited being the language, but that would have to be changed, I think, in terms of, it does discuss, the city may by motion grant a permit after having written application to an applicant, allowing applicant to obstruct the section of a sidewalk directly in front of premises owned, leased, rented, or otherwise lawfully possessed by the applicant if the proposed obstruction, and it basically goes into a general safety analysis, more or less.
Okay.
So we have a motion properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. We'll table it to a future meeting. Actually, Public Works Supervisor Stump, you've been attending a lot of meetings at the state, and a motion to table usually doesn't allow for discussion. Is that correct?
I would have to refer to Robert's Rules of Order, but I believe you are correct.
That came up at one of the SLIB meetings that you recently attended, so we should have properly, if we were properly doing it, we would have motioned to reschedule, and then we could have allowed for discussion.
Yes,
So my bad on that, everyone.
Yes, if I remember correctly, to table something, there is no discussion.
Yeah, if it's tabled, then it just goes and there's no discussion. Moving on. It's a new business. Item number 1, Historical Preservation Month proclamation. So, City of Newcastle Proclamation Historical Preservation Month. Whereas local historic preservation is an effective tool for revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contribution made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspect of the heritage that has shaped us as people. Now, therefore, I, Tyrell Owens, Mayor of the City of Newcastle, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Historical Preservation Month and call upon the people of Newcastle, Wyoming to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Newcastle, Wyoming to be affixed this 5th day of May 2025. Stacy. Item number 2, Frontline Worker Appreciation Month. Whereas frontline workers are the builders of our community, exercising curiosity, compassion, courage, and creativity to provide essential services that ensure the safety, health, and education of our residents. And whereas over 9 million healthcare workers across the United States serve in hospitals, clinics, and long-term care facilities, often placing themselves at risk to provide life-saving care. And whereas firefighters respond to an estimated 36 million emergency calls each year, over 800,000 sworn law enforcement officers nationwide work tirelessly to uphold the law and ensure public safety. And emergency medical services personnel respond to more than 240 million calls annually. And whereas teachers dedicated their careers to shaping the futures of our communities, with over 3.7 million educators in the U.S. providing knowledge and guidance to our youth. And whereas frontline workers embody the essence of builders, flexible thinkers, and constructive problem solvers who respect the dignity of all people by dedicating themselves to overcoming challenges and uniting communities. Now, therefore, I, Tyrell Owens, Mayor of Newcastle, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Frontline Worker Appreciation Month in the City of Newcastle and encourage all residents to join in recognizing and honoring the heroic contributions of healthcare workers, firefighters, law enforcement officers, EMS personnel, and teachers. Thanks. Moving on to item number 3 under new business, YDOT special event application road closure for the classic summer drags.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think this pertains to us.
Yeah, I don't either.
It says why not?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, on the back, it does require city or town approval.
It does?
Yes.
Approved by city or town if applicable.
Well, it's not our street.
But it is within the city limits.
Oh, it is. Thank you.
And then, Greg, have you been attending those meetings?
Not often enough.
When's the last time you made one of those meetings?
2.5 months ago.
Oh, so you're not gonna have any updated information at this time?
No, I believe.
Chuck's been going.
Yeah, I was voluntold.
Can you tell us what's
going on?
Yeah, you guys talked about this application and our need for a signature?
Yes. And we talked with YDOT, and they would like, I guess, the town's approval.
Okay. And it's still on course to be an event that
Yes.
actually happens in our community?
Unfortunately, we've been waiting for the insurance to come through for drag races. We've been working on detour plans, working on trying to get cones, trying to get Jersey barriers, all that kinds of things.
You've been working hard, Chuck. So, but in your opinion, it seems like this event is going to be a go in July?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I really hope that it happens, because I think it'll be good for the community if it's executed well. And with that, I guess I would entertain a motion from the council for the mayor to sign the application for the classic summer drags.
Mayor, I move that we, the council, approve your signature on the classic summer drag.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Moving on to range application for temporary use permit. So this application is for installing a 30-foot pole to mount a wireless transmitter to feed. So this application is for installing a 30-foot pole to mount a wireless transmitter to feed. And then I'm trying to see where exactly the,
It doesn't have a physical address.
So this
Just
is
got
actually
township
legal north
range.
of town.
This has a legal.
so legal description, section 16, township 49 north, range 61 west, length 50 feet, and in the county of Weston.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Where's this one going, Greg?
They're going above, past tank number 1 up north along the old highway. We have a water main in there, and that's why they're asking us for temporary use permit. They're also crossing the section of property that we own by tank number 1 on the old highway. They've got to lay a new line from the ped close to the highway, up along the old highway, northwest of the tank, northeast of the tank. Pole will not be actually sitting on us, they just need access to cross us in order to get to that pole, along with other private property. They're basically utilizing the easement that we have for our water main.
Okay. So with that information.
Yeah, I spoke with a gentleman about this. Nothing seems to be out of order other than if they want to lay their line right on top of our water main, which we discussed already. That we were not going to allow them to put it right on top.
I move that we allow range to use the temporary easement
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Okay, moving on to new business number 5, Delaware York Street easement application. So this also brings up an important point. I would like to start calling between our council meetings some department head meetings. So maybe like, you know, the second Monday and the fourth Monday of every month, we can sit down in the morning about 8 o'clock and have a department head meeting. So I'm a little bit more prepared for our meeting. Do we entertain a motion for the non-roadway easement application through the state of Wyoming for the Delaware and York Street project?
Is that water line that's there?
Mr. Mayor, yes, Mr. Councilman. This easement is for the lot, section of property behind the curb that we do not own in front of the state forest. We need this property in order to lay work.
So we entertain a motion?
So moved that the non-road easement application with the state of Wyoming for the purpose of installing 8401.
We have a second. A motion and second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Is there any committee or council member reports? I guess the Community Appearance Committee, since we tabled the sidewalk permit, then you guys don't have anything to report. Okay, moving on. Department head reports, Attorney Douglas Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I have to discuss, council, is we currently have a lease agreement with Union Wireless. They sent over a proposal for an amendment. As far as I can tell, what the primary purpose is they're trying to get some specific equipment up to the site, and without having an amendment to the actual legal description, I believe that they would basically be in violation of actually putting the equipment on or off of what they're allowed to use as the easement. Greg, correct me where I'm wrong, that was just my understanding from what they said, so.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, they're adding new equipment to their current site. There's plenty of room for it, there's power there. That area's primarily been reserved for such things as this. Wyoming PBS, Wyoming, several different companies have physical property or physical items right there. They are wanting to add a new item in order to expand their service.
I think we've discussed this before. I think it's been a while.
Yeah, actually, we renewed their lease here recently, in recent past. This is actually an expansion on their lease
On the original lease.
to allow more equipment to come in.
They want to expand, it says reconfigure the leased premises.
Yes, you're right, you're correct, Mr. Foster, or Councilman Foster.
So we're going to lease more things, more land to them.
Yes, it's a very small footprint, if I remember right. It's really hard to read. It's 50 inches, 50 by 50 is the area. They already occupy a portion of that already. This is just to allow them to put newer and better equipment up there to better
And that's
serve.
50 by 50 area.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion to accept the First Amendment of the communication site lease?
I move that we approve the First Amendment to the communication site lease.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that is all I have.
All right. Moving on to item number 2, Clerk Treasurer Stacy Haggerty.
The only thing I have to report to the council, thank you, Mr. Mayor, is I did run ads for our open seat on the ballot commission board that the city has, and I have not received any letters of interest. So that seat is still open. That is all I have to report.
Is there anybody that has questions for Clerk Treasurer Stacy Haggerty? And then I kind of skipped over, did anybody have any questions for Dublin Hughes, our attorney? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to number 3, Public Works Supervisor Greg Stump, and it looks like you've got a lot of stuff on here.
We've been working hard. The first item is according to the ordinance, we're supposed to have water and sewer tap application. We cannot find one, so we drafted it. It does go through some extensive stuff on the second page as far as what we're responsible for, what the customer's responsible for, what the tap fees are. If it pleases the council, we will begin using this tap application.
Do we have a motion to accept the request for a tap to the city's water and or sewer system application that's proposed?
I'll make a motion to approve the request for tap to the city's water and sewer system.
We got a second? Thanks, Ann. We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.
The next item, we've developed, while doing this, we've developed a right-of-way application permit for other utilities. We've had some issue without, where we did not know they were doing, what they were doing for dig work, how they were doing it, so on and so forth. We have several alleys that have issues. So we would like to add into our franchise agreements and that they have to apply for an application for utility work, so we know what they're doing, so we can record what they're doing, where they're doing it. We've had several times that we've been driving around town and see a mini excavator digging in the middle of the street and come to find out they're repairing a gas line. We didn't know about it, other than a utility locate. We'd really like to be able to track some of this information and see what they're doing and have some say over what they do. It's not that we're trying to reduce or restrict any of their work, but we would like to say in the matter as to how they date our streets and right of ways and how they do their work. We've had several of these that we've had to go back 2 and 3 times to fill holes because there was no compaction done after they were done. Right now we have 12 spots in alleys and we have to go back this spring after this winter and do repair work. They're boring in lines. We have no say-so over where they're boring their lines at. And this creates a problem from time to time when we go to work on sewer lines and things like this. We would just like a little more say over it. There's no charge for it. It would simply be, they would pull a permit for the job. We can track it then and be more aware of it and have more say over how they put the utility or how they put our right of way back together.
Is there any reason that they shouldn't be responsible for that? And like, if you've had to go back several times to these places, that costs money.
And right now, we have nothing in place to go back and try and recover expenses due to the city.
So this is basically providing for a paper trail so that you can come back on companies that aren't doing right.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to accept the right-of-way permit application for utility work?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to say, Greg, this is brilliant. This is really good. There's right behind my house, there's a bunch of stuff in the alleys that I'd like to see, you know.
Actually, one of the holes that got dug at the end of the alley on Butte over by Ash and Gray, between Ash and Gray on the alley, that was a nightmare. And it sunk forever, and then the garbage truck was driving through it. It was just a bad deal all the way around.
Yes, and we've actually had to pull the garbage truck out of some of these holes. They drop in and sink 2 foot.
It's like a booby trap.
Yep.
This is gonna help you put an end to that, and we can find somebody, or we can...
It's a step forward, let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I can concur, Greg, just great job with this, being a new guy, I do have a question. So if XYZ contractor wanted to come do work on one of the streets, open it up, is there a permit that they pull for that?
If it's a water sewer tap, yes, they have to have a street cut or alley cut. In our franchise agreements, they're required to put the surface back together or back to the way it was. So if it's an asphalt street, we don't charge the utilities like Charter Communications, Black Hills Energy, Range Communication. We do not charge them a street cut, but they're required to put it back the way it was. If there was gravel on the surface, they have to put gravel back. If it's an asphalt surface or concrete surface, they're to put it back the way it was.
Okay, so like the work that was done on Sumner and Seneca.
Yes, those were actually well, both of them are sewer related.
Okay, so like the work that was done on Sumner and Seneca.
Yes, those were actually well, both of them are sewer related, and they did pay a street cut for those.
Okay.
Which, keep in mind, when we say a street cut, we only take care of the asphalt portion of it, and in the water sewer tap, we explain what we pay for and what they need to pay for as far as the street cut. We do not pay for the concrete curb and gutter or sidewalk. They're required to replace that. We've had issues with people not understanding that they had to put that back. The only thing the street cut pays for is the street surface itself. So the asphalt or the concrete.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Moving on to West Railroad Street proposal. Oh, I'm sorry, I checked one of the line items first. Yeah, okay, it looks like we had a Whipke's inspector come through.
Yes, so the last couple of years, we've had Wyoming DEQ do an inspection on our wastewater treatment facility. This is the second year we've done it. We recently, on April 22nd, they were through, checked all our records, reviewed our emergency response plan, our operations and maintenance manuals, and our sampling. And fortunately, on the last page, we have no violations, so we passed.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Is there any further questions on the DEQ wastewater treatment facility inspection?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay. Moving on to West Railroad Street proposal.
We have been working with the engineering firm WWC Engineering on the agreed professional services agreement. I would recommend recommend a motion for the mayor to sign the proposal. The fees are within normal range of what we would see for a project like this. Roughly, it's 11% of the estimated cost of the project. Typically, we can see 15 to 20% on a project like this. I would also ask in the motion that myself and Foreman Weston County are the designated representatives for the city. That allows us to do the pay request, change orders, anything like that we need to make the decisions, daily decisions we need to make.
Do we have does the council entertain a motion to accept the professional service agreement for the West Railroad Street project and allow for Public Works Supervisor Greg Stump and Public Works Foreman Justin King to be allowed to be
the city representative.
City representative.
Or designated representative, I guess.
The designated representative. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify. Oh, is there any discussion?
And we're approving this whole thing here. This is like the Senate, they give you all this stuff and you can't read it, and then they want you to pass it.
So it looks like $60,250.
Yeah, what's in here? We gotta pass this so we can know what's in it, that's what Nancy said.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah, it basically defines, it's a contract basically between us and the engineering firm that defines who's responsible for what happens with everything. We did have them change some of the wording to allow us to, originally they did not have any plans for surveying to double check the property as ours. We did add that into it. We did define closer when they need to have pay requests into us for engineering. Trying to remember what else. Yeah, basically this is our working document of how we interact with the engineering.
Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes.
The next item, we have requested to use some leftover monies from a project to purchase a crew cab pickup. We found a used 2021 Ford XLT for $35,000. It has 12,915 miles on it. request to purchase this pickup from Granite, Buick GMC in Rapid City.
I move that we allow the Public Works Supervisor Greg Stump to purchase a new used truck.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Did you not discuss purchasing one of these in the past?
That's
Is
the
this a
same
different
one.
No, I requested two pickups. One, we planned to purchase for $30,000, we purchased one for $23,000. This is the second one that we wanted to purchase. We're replacing two older pickups, one 1999 Ford and one 2000 Chevy.
I get questions all the time when we're doing these used ones like that, you know, where we looking local also for these type of vehicles, where we're spending our money out of town that local businesses here can offer us.
What we do is we check the inventories of different places, and we do researches for pickups. The first place we go is two local auto dealers. Then we look closer outside of that in Wyoming first. If we can't find anything there, then we look outside of that area. Traditionally, my plan is to stay traditionally in the hills as close as we can to Newcastle. Checking the inventory of one of the local dealerships, the closest thing they have is an F-250. This pickup is actually, my pickup will get cycled down. I'll be driving this one, and I don't need a 3/4 ton to go to Cheyenne or Casper or wherever. We were looking more for fuel mileage with this one than anything, so it has a smaller V6 engine, twin turbo, gets around 20 to 22 miles per gallon. Yes, we did search the inventories of locals.
Just wanted to kind of be sure, you know, get that question when I see that in the paper that we purchased one, you know, did we look at sourcing local?
Yes.
Thanks for doing some fleet management, Greg. It's kind of a reflection on our organization when we're driving around in a bunch of beat up jalopies all the time. So it's good that you're actually putting some focus on getting some usable equipment. And it's not nickel and diming us for all the repairs all the time.
Well, wait till you see a bill on the skid steer we got here coming.
Yeah, I know, I looked at that earlier. So we have a motion properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. On to backyard park, thank you. So is this the proposed sign for, that's gonna be?
Yes, it'll be a 3-foot by 6-foot vinyl banner that will hang up the backyard park. Person we were dealing with is one of our locals. This is what we can finally come up with. Are there any changes anybody wants to make to it, or do we want to get it ordered and get it hung up?
What is the expected life expectancy of that particular banner?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I have no clue how long a vinyl banner will last outside of the window.
And does it have to be so big? 3 by 6 is pretty big.
We requested they make the same size as what we have for our Touch a Truck banner that we put up on Main Street when we do Madness on Main.
I mean, come campaign time, Tom, we had some vinyl banners up, and they were probably up for about 6 months, and they were still holding strong.
Okay.
So, I hope that this'll.
Well, they gave us $100 grand.
Be good enough.
Want to be sure it's gonna last.
For sure. I mean, is this something, Don, since you work for the organization, that maybe they need to look at?
I'm gonna take this tomorrow and give it to our group tomorrow.
Okay.
Look at it.
So maybe we could provide you some update, at the next council meeting or
Yeah,
something?
no, that's fine. That's why I'm presenting it, so the council can, if they have any comment or anything like that, we can get it the way.
I think it's good looking.
So.
Okay.
Along with that, moving forward with donations like backyard art, how do we want to propose any other donations? Recognition for donations. Let's say somebody donates another $25,000 to the backyard park.
Or even 100.
Or even another $100,000. I'm curious how the council would like to, moving forward, would like to notice those individuals or those companies for their donations.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
at the hospital, they put people on the floor with those little, I don't think we're gonna get any more for $100,000. But if we do, they can have another banner just like that one. But what if we could build a little sidewalk out of little things in the ground with their name in it?
The only problem I see with that is most of that ground's gonna end up being disturbed when we start building, when we really start building it.
I think we should put a monetary, I mean, if they give $5 or $10 or even $100, maybe not. I think it should be kind of substantial.
Okay.
That's my.
Put your name on a brick and bury it.
We could put them on the path, tree, on the.
We can also get a sign and add names to it as needed. We can get some kind of, I can draft something up and see what we can do there.
Maybe this could be a parks committee meeting, and then they could meet with with somebody from Park Pacific or get feedback from Councilman Stevenson, and then also figure out what they want to do for recognition and donations.
And yes, I was going to request a Parks Committee meeting.
So where is this going? Do we know?
This is going right off on the side of Salem Avenue, right where the
So like just
the
along
current
the
sign
road
is.
or whatever?
Yeah. I did not originally have my next item on the agenda. We finalized everything and got it on the website. The 2024 Consumer Confidence Report is completed. We do have it on the website now, so we can turn in the certification to EPA for that, and that information is available at the website. One more item, we're having trouble with the banners, the graduation banners on Main Street for a couple of reasons. One, they stitched it that wide. This ball is intended to keep it on there, but in the wind, it can slide right through. We've been losing them on a regular. So there's a reason they need to really stitch them up closer, so the ball will actually keep it from flying off. So if anybody asks you why, that's one of the reasons.
So do you actually put them on that pole?
Yes, this is one of the
You
rows.
do that yourself?
Yeah.
So just staple it?
Normally, well, we didn't know it when we put them up, so
So they're all up now?
Yes.
Oh.
normally we pull this ball off in order to slide the banner on and put the ball back on.
But these you don't have to.
These will slide right over the ball pretty easily. So with the wind and stuff, they have been blowing off. The other reason, if you notice that end, our poles are wearing out, and our rods are wearing out, and they're aluminum. We did try and weld new sockets on. That turned out to be a little more difficult than what we had anticipated. We're looking into other solutions to keep banners up, but this is becoming a bigger problem. These poles are over 20 years old. They're aluminum. With all the wind and stuff like that, they get to flapping. That's why we pull most of the rods off the poles.
So they don't fall off and hit
So
somebody.
they don't fall off and hit somebody. We've had issues with them backing out. We've had to drill holes in them to pin them and different things like this to try and keep them up. We've had issues with them backing out. We've had to drill holes in them to pin them and different things like this to try and keep them up.
And kids jumping up and grabbing them.
On regular, we take all the bottom ones off because they usually break them. Trying to climb on the poles.
Well, if you had flower baskets hanging from them,
They would all be on the ground.
then that would look nice, and then they wouldn't jump off there.
As I mentioned, I would like to request a Parks Committee to discuss a couple of things, as well as a Personnel Committee meeting. And if it pleases the committees, I'll send out an email with some proposed dates.
Greg, have you been provided with all of our new emails?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think I've changed them in my daily, though. I apologize.
Because I know when you sent out your reports today, they went to you.
Yeah, no, I have not updated that, so I will get it updated.
What do you say you want to see?
Parks and personnel.
Will you provide a follow-up email to all the committee members that you want to, and then get one arranged? Do you have anything further?
I do not.
Okay.
I entertain questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Public Works Supervisor Stahl?
So are your reunion vendors gonna be okay with the timing?
I think, while we're dealing with permits and applications and stuff, we're actually contemplating doing a banner application so we can specify how big this loop needs to be versus how big we ended up being. We've had issues in the past with them being 2 inches too short, stuff like that, so we can actually put the information necessary.
But you have the reunion vendors.
We have the reunion
And they should
vendors.
be okay with this one.
As long as we can get the rods on.
Okay.
Rods to stay up. So it's becoming more of a challenge the older they get. We're looking into some different options. I'm not really fully, I really don't like the options, but it may be our only option. I'll discuss that at the next meeting. We're gathering prices and stuff like that right now.
Any further questions for Public Works Supervisor? Thanks, Greg. Moving on to item 4, Police Chief Derek Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Get out of my chair here without tearing anything apart.
Thank you.
The first item is the calls for services between April 21st and today. Newcastle Police Department is 152, and I attached a sheet on the back. I finally figured out our CAD system and a way to print a report that breaks down every call for service we have into categories, so that'll give you a little bit better overall view of what we deal with, I guess. Weston County Sheriff's Office, 128, Upton Police Department, 1, Newcastle Volunteer Fire Department, 4, Weston County Fire Protection District, 2, Upton Volunteer Fire Department, 0, Newcastle Ambulance, in the Newcastle area, 10 calls, and in Weston County, 4 calls, nothing in Upton, Osage, or Custer this time around. Upton Ambulance, 5 calls, and that's it on that one. The second item is I would like to offer a conditional offer of employment to Channing Lutz for the position of Community Service Officer with a starting salary of $18 an hour.
1-year probationary period, and this is conditional on passing a background investigation, a drug screen, and fingerprints, which will leave the start date to be determined.
Do we entertain a motion to offer a conditional offer of employment to Channing Lutz for the position of community service officer, starting at $18 an hour with a 1-year probationary period, with the conditions of passing background investigation, drug screen, fingerprints, and start date to be determined?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Great job, Chief. We needed a community service officer for a while. It'll be great that we have somebody filling that role.
I think it's gonna be really helpful, so I hope.
Any further discussion?
Did you figure out a vehicle for this individual?
Right now, we're just gonna go with the one we had.
Red truck.
It's no gym, but we'll make it do for now. We might, depending on how things pan out, we might transfer her into that older Durango that we have. It's still in pretty decent condition. It's just probably would need a little bit of modification on the interior to kind of occasionally conducive to what she needs. Yeah. And there's a big box in the back. It's a long box sort of thing that need to be removed. What's that?
I've seen an F-150 come up.
Nope, that one's mine.
In my last item.
Oh, we still, is there any further discussion?
Sorry about that.
I just wanted to say that this last page that you put down there, you actually show us all the stuff you gotta do, and sometimes 14 times over. That lets us know what you're doing, and it's, I like it.
So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Yeah, so go ahead. You want to tell
No,
me
I'm
more
not,
about how
I
awesome?
forgot what we were doing today.
I like it too, Chief. I think it's great that it actually really breaks it down. So.
And I can also do it for the sheriff's office, but where it's not my department, I didn't feel as though that was appropriate without the appropriate permission. I don't know if you guys are interested in their breakdown or not, but I can ask if you would like.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
What are some of the different agency assists that we're doing?
That ranges anything from DFS to probation parole to the sheriff's office. Trying to think of some of the other ones. Just basically any other first responder agency. We can even be considered on an assist for the fire department if we're running traffic control or something for you on fire, things like that. So we do a lot of home visits with the Department of Family Services and probation parole. Sometimes we help them with drug screening, things like that. Was there any other questions on that breakdown?
Doesn't appear so, Chief.
All right. And the last thing I wanted to do, and I apologize, this is pretty crudely put together, but I tried my best in the limited time I had left today. I did put together, I tried to keep it fairly brief, a presentation on some of the ordinances that I was a little bit concerned about. Greg is going to help me get it up on the TV here. This needs to put it into here. No, okay. Maybe you will.
everybody else.
What do you think?
When I sneezed.
He said left.
Thank you. Can you see that?
Well, it's just a blue screen right now.
That's my graphic design capabilities.
We're gonna pass an ordinance against that. Finished all my red hots.
You can also move the meetings. I don't know.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I've been thinking about this Brentwood thing. Could we have them request another budget copy, because this is all messed up.
I don't know, so.
It doesn't even add up right.
That's, the way it happens, well, I guess, since they're working on the tech right now, I had received instant messenger messages through Facebook that they were upset and they were all considering just abandoning the board. So I asked if Melissa Hammond would like to have a meeting or give me a call.
No, that isn't.
I know, so I'm building up to that.
Okay.
So I invited him to the office and then we started into the discussion, right? And I said, well, we just invited you here because the council wanted to know, what the discrepancies were in the proposed agenda that you had. And there was nobody available to talk to us about it.
Yeah.
So that's why, we decided to give you the original amount of funding for now, right? Until we had somebody to discuss it with. So I asked them if they wanted added to the agenda for tonight. And they said yes. And we had this really nice cordial conversation. And we all agreed that communication is what was lacking. So then they came to our meeting tonight and they had prepared that speech and it was kind of, in my estimation, kind of lashing out at us. And I didn't really appreciate how that speech was going. So anyway, it kind of degraded in what we ended up with. But yes, I'll reach out to them and see if they can provide us with
Resubmit.
What they would like for their annual budget.
Yeah, just like
Line item.
with no vague ones that they don't know. It is actually like each of them need to have an application or something associated with it. Okay, so we'll try it again.
anymore.
It's not connecting.
We're gonna have some settings.
You boys better keep your day jobs.
Yes.
Well, look who you hired for IT. Come
I
on.
mean, IT, I think this is for IT's not your bag.
There we go, something just happened. Yeah. Shrunk the screen for a second.
Remember when you used to have to get on the roof and then
Oh,
adjust
oh.
the antenna?
I do remember that.
Sorry, Gary. Nope.
And one night they told me to stay there and just hold it because they were getting a better picture. We had it for a minute there.
I remember those old antennas, Tom.
Yeah.
Greg, switch
I
HDMI
think
ports.
that's because you guys are both old.
I don't know, it's right there.
They was talking. Ooh, easy.
That's all we get now, dude.
You don't need that new truck.
Yeah.
You need a wheelchair.
Shrunk for just a second, like it's connected, but nothing.
So at this point, I feel like we're committed, but can you read the slides to us, Chief, or?
I don't have time to type them, I have to read them. Yeah, we can just do that.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Oh.
All right.
I can't read it though, I'm sorry.
Don't worry about that.
Oh, there.
There you go, present.
Better?
That's better.
Okay. All right, so the main ordinance that we seem to encounter is the storage of junk and junk vehicles. And the problem we seem to encounter. Got to put down.
Yeah,
Is there an issue?
yeah, there sure is.
What's that?
I've been running through the ringer on this,
Okay.
and nothing's ever been done since.
Okay.
Talk.
You're to-
We're
what you're
gonna
talking
change
about. So the one thing that's written in there is the violator or violators shall have 30 days from the date the notice is mailed to them before we can take action through citation. So that just seems to extend the time frame out before things like this can be taken care of. So we issue the notice, we come back, we issue the citation, and then municipal court's a month out, so there's another month. And then the judge typically issues some sort of order that says you have, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but 45 days or 60 days to have 50% cleaned up, and another 45 or 60 days or whatever.
It generally kind of depends on the extent of how much junk or junk vehicles is on the property.
So that's kind of a question, who determines junk? Yeah.
It's in the ordinance.
So it's defined. I don't know if I included it in here, but it's
Actually, number one, junk includes any iron, glass, paper, rags, cordage, wood, machinery parts, clothing, manufactured items, which by reason of partial, complete disassembly or dilapidation is unable to perform the function or purpose for which it was originally constructed, and any other waste or discarded materials of any nature or substance whatsoever And any scrap or salvage materials or manufactured things which is held for scrap or salvage purposes. Junk is not included, firewood and individual links which are stacked.
So basically boils down to, if you're talking about vehicles, it's something that's inoperable, can't be used for its original intended purpose. And it includes other things that basically, because of their current state, can't be used for what they were intended to be used for. Again, the problems we encounter, starting out with the 30 days, lack of compliance with warnings, then lack of compliance with judicial orders. We have cases where the judge has said, clean this up, and you have this much time, and then they don't do it. And it's like, we're gonna pay $65 a day to house them in jail? That seems pretty counterproductive, because the city has to pay daily to house anybody in the county jail. So, again, this is pretty crudely put together in the time that I had available to do it. My proposals are possibly removing the 30-day grace period to help expedite the process, because that seems to come before and after they see the judge. Possibly some sort of deferral program, and these are just ideas. I didn't have the time to meet with Dublin and Greg to kind of hash all this stuff out, but basically meaning that if you comply with the ordinance or comply with the judge's order in his time limit set forth, that you can be, all fines and fees can be waived. The bond for this in the bond schedule is $200. The ordinance allows for $750. So I think there's possibly different ways to set up a referral program, and frankly, that's out of my ball field. That's a legal function and a judicial function. But it's just an idea. And the last thing I thought may be helpful is addition of language allowing for the city or contract personnel designated by the city to evade the violation if we can't gain compliance through that's supposed to say criminal process instead of civil. Again, the bond amount is $200. It is a must appear municipal court citation. The ordinance allows for $750.
Is that $750 of the state, or do we do that here?
No, that's a municipal. Yeah.
We do that. So we could double that if we wanted.
You need more than double it.
I was gonna say, how long has it been $750?
Well, it's $750 is the maximum. I think it says up to. And the bond amount set in the bond schedule was $200.
1993.
Might be with that. And that was the overall worst one we deal with. I did have some stuff typed out on garbage ordinance too. Greg informed me that's already going to be taken care of through some of the other processes that he has to undergo to meet compliance with other things. But many of our ordinances seem outdated. Some areas lack necessary definitions. Definitions are sometimes overly vague, but again, just ask what is junk? And frankly, it's kind of hard to define. But some of the language is a little convoluted. And then some ordinances seem to be just straight up unconstitutional.
Well, section 1727 is against the state of Wyoming, I know that for sure.
So the obscenity one that talks about basically wearing clothing of the, not belonging to the sex of the wearer, we could potentially be in some trouble if we enforce that, but if we don't. And then 1727, weapons shall be unlawful for any person except officers of the state or of the city to keep or bear on his person any pistol, revolver, knife, slingshot, bludgeon, or other weapon. violation of the Second Amendment, so. These were just a few of the issues that I highlighted and was aware
That's
of.
1889.
Yeah. But it's still there. That's the concerning part, it has not been repeated.
So, that's something interesting, Chief, because Dublin had showed us these, you know, really old, outdated ordinances. And then myself on the council, you know, I kind of felt like politically we were being leaned on to get rid of these ordinances. That were something that defined our town. And so I wasn't in favor at the time, and I think the council voted with me to just leave them in antiquity. But like, I mean, I guess looking at it from a different perspective, if it's something that could really, you know, put us in a liability, you know, concern, then maybe it is time to address these ordinances from antiquity. Especially the weapons one, that with the violation of the Second Amendment, I mean, that really needs to be looked at.
Right. And the concerning part is the chief of police and other police officers of the city shall arrest. Doesn't say may. Well, that's essentially making me in violation of ordinance. It says I shall do this. So.
Yeah, I want you to get all those slingshot guys off the street, man.
And we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I don't know what the best way to do some of this overhaul would be, whether we get a set of ordinances that have been more recently legally reviewed from another municipality or whatever organization may develop ordinances.
I feel like this is something
we
we could reach out to Newey or Lamb and then try to see if any of the municipalities had gone through kind of an ordinance overhaul, and if they would be, you know, amicable to you sharing that information with us.
Yeah. I think it would be really tedious to go through them one at a time and make the necessary changes and then go through the process of first reading, second reading, third reading for every one of them. Whereas I don't know if the process would be more simplistic if we did a bulk of them at once, type of deal.
Is that something that we can do, Dublin, like overhaul a chapter? And then
The city of Sundance recently did an ordinance overhaul, and I believe it basically, you send in your ordinance book and they more or less look for things that are unconstitutional, along with, they try to at least have some sort of reference back to case law so that you're not falling into the trap of having vague definitions, for instance. One of the things with the two that we just saw, I don't think that's particularly, you know, something that would require one of those companies, let's say. I think we just repeal those. I don't think that those stay in any sort of capacity. The other thing with specifically with the nuisances, especially with junk, one of the things that most cities have, and I finally, Greg directed me to this. I was under the impression that the city didn't have one, but there is an ordinance in the code that basically allows for the chief to abate any nuisances within the city. Frankly, I don't think that would probably be the most prudent thing, because then you would be doing that basically half of the time. The other, the way that I know that Gillette and Laramie and Sundance, at least, you know, how they've dealt with it, is you basically send the landowner a letter and it says you have a month or, you know, 2 weeks to abate this nuisance. And then if they don't, then the city hires out, you know, a contractor or has, you know, someone within the city clean it up, and then they send the landowner a bill. And if they don't pay that bill, then that becomes a lien actually to the property. And it's been pretty effective. So I agree that I think that there's probably a bunch of updates, that we could have, but for these two specifically, I think those can just be repealed, in my humble opinion. For the nuisance one, I kind of would, with the council's lead, look into that because it is pretty streamlined. I've sent quite a few of those letters in Sundance myself. I would just have to look at the ordinance book.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
For the nuisance one, I kind of would, with the council's lead, look into that because it is pretty streamlined. I've sent quite a few of those letters in Sundance myself. I would just have to look at the ordinance book. And then if they don't clean it up, then the city cleans it up and then they get a bill. So.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we did that years ago. When I first started, we actually had one full-timer, took 2 seasonal help with them, and that's all they did for the entire summer. Was bake properties and clean things up. Myself personally, I was involved in, I think, 4 different ones. One guy all of a sudden decided he was going to collect white goods. So he had a yard full of refrigerators, stoves, washers, dryers, the whole 9 yards. We filled 2 dump trucks, 2 single axle dump trucks that everything had in the yard. Well, we were sent over there with a backhoe and a dump truck to load everything up, get rid of it. So we have done this in the past, but it hasn't been in the recent past. This is probably.
I think that's what we need to do.
This is probably.
I agree.
99, 2000 was the last time we did this.
And even if that person, that's all they do, I think that's what we gotta do.
But it comes down to a lien, see, if it
Yes,
does, and then you've got the property.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gotta get serious about it, I think, as our town.
I feel the same way as you do, and I mean, the thing is it gets tiresome to always be getting talked to by citizens about the condition and the look of our town, and to go around town and see the junk and the trash and the things, it just kind of weighs on my mind, and we definitely need to find a way to expedite the process because it's to a point where it doesn't seem like, the people that are really violating our ordinances, they don't care and they aren't going to comply, and then it takes so long to actually move forward on the process that we really need to put our finger on a way to expedite it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we've talked about this, it just breeds. I mean, we let it happen.
Yeah.
And it grows, and it grows, and it grows. And
Right.
then pretty soon people say, wait a minute. And that's what's happened. And then the Jen Womack, she tries to do nice things and.
On Sundance did their reevaluation of their, did they change their level of fees?
I don't recall, one of the issues that Sundance had is they did that in lieu of now trying to get their city court, municipal court back, because they basically have, to some extent, not been having as many of their ordinances enforced as they used to. And that would make sense because the sheriff's department oversees all of law enforcement in Crook County. And that, in and of itself, is the whole process because you have to go up to the Supreme Court about getting municipal court. I think with the overhaul of the ordinances, the company, from what I saw, because Dad basically oversees the Sundance to a greater extent than I do. They did an overhaul of every ordinance, if I recall correctly. But I can get that pulled and I can take a look at who that was. And I guess I could do a report back to the council at the next meeting if that's what the council wishes. As it applies to these two, I think I can just draft up a repeal of those with the council's leave.
But did you just kind of pull those out just for example, or?
Yeah, I just picked
So
out
there's
some,
probably
I
more.
started to go through everything and I was like,
Yeah.
this is gonna be a 4-hour presentation, so, I just picked
Yeah.
like the one that's our biggest issue, and then some of them that are just like completely unconstitutional, so.
Does the council entertain a motion to repeal section 17-14 obscenity and section 17-27 weapons? Have double and repeal those.
Right up,
Yeah, work on the language to repeal those.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, those are abbreviated. There's much more in the title, and there's, I don't remember, but there may be a subsection too, so you might want to look those up and make sure the language in the motion is.
Yeah, since we covered the section, then and then we gave them leave to work on it. So we have a motion, and I believe there's a second. So is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. Next level.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I will tell you, it is a pretty daunting task. Took me about, I've got several hours wrapped up in the water sewer ordinance. I looked at it, there was so much outdated information, very cumbersome wording. So, yeah, chapter 26 is an example of what we're looking at doing here. It is fairly extensive changes.
I believe that we've all had discussions about the necessity of overhauling our ordinance book. So, I mean, more information, doubling on the companies and the costs and everything would be appreciated.
I think your idea of contacting the area plan would be a good idea too. See if they've done this, so we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. Thanks.
And the last suggestion I had, and again, these are all just ideas and suggestions. I don't have any vast amount of experience working with municipal ordinances. I was always employed by a county sheriff's office prior to being here. So this is somewhat new to me. But from what I can see, we avoid at all costs arresting anybody on a municipal ordinance violation because of the cost. You know, it's a $200 fine and they spend 3 days in jail and you've got nothing out of it. It's still cost to the taxpayer. So there are several ordinances that are on the books that essentially mirror the state statute. So I don't know where we don't have a city jail. I'm pretty sure nobody in this room has any interest in running one. I don't think it's reasonable to keep those on the books, but just because I say that doesn't mean that that's the gospel truth by any means. I think we should definitely speak to people that would maybe have different opinions on the matter just to make sure that what we're doing is the right thing. And that's my very limited presentation.
So if this mirrors the state law, and you can arrest somebody in the streets of Newcastle for violating the state law, and then you can put them in the county jail, and then we don't have any expenses.
We don't pay expenses.
Okay, that's a good thing.
But if we arrested them on a, let's use impaired driving. If we arrest somebody under Wyoming statute 315233, that's a state statute. They go to circuit court, so there's no municipal court, and they are housed in the county jail for free. If we arrest them on the city ordinance applicable to that, we pay $65 a day to house them, and then we have to put them through the municipal court.
Can you tell him how many of those you found?
How many DUIs?
No.
Oh,
How many ordinances have you found in your state?
I don't have a number on it, but there seems to be quite a few. There's exhibition driving, there's DUI, there's a lot of traffic offenses that.
Well, help our council find them, please.
Okay. And when we go to overhaul things, I'm sure I would imagine they would think those things out. But.
Yeah, it also just should be noted that Judge Dumbrell had made kind of an analysis of the ordinances when he was looking at them on the basis of the arrest portion of it. And the reason is that if there is a jailable offense, then under the Constitution, a criminal defendant would be required to have an actual jury, which I would do voir dire and everything else. And that's, for a city ordinance, frankly, it's a 6 to, at a minimum, a 4 to 8 month process in some cases. And frankly, I don't see really any benefit for city officers arresting somebody that we then pay the county jail for an ordinance in which it would have been enforced anyway. Excuse me, a statute would have been enforced under it.
Does anybody else have anything further for Chief? And that was the end of your presentation.
That's it.
I have one thing else for the council, with the chief. We have a situation that is coming up right in the next couple of weeks, is that there will be graduates from Western Dakota Tech and from Sheridan College in criminal justice. They will have associate's degrees, and we have talked to both of the administrators of these programs at these two schools. And we wanted to get out a flyer. We're working on that, to have a flyer. And both of these ladies said that they will hand them to the student. And we were wondering if part of his budget that he hasn't spent, can we allow him to have like a $3,000 to $5,000 sign-on bonus if the person has an associate's degree? From his present budget, and that's, I'm just asking if this is something that we thought might get us some people to work as police officers.
It's an interesting idea, Tom, because it might expedite the process of trying to recruit more employees to our police department.
We have the money.
We might have to put a time limit on it so they don't come in and get their bonus and a month later saying.
They have to stay so long.
Those are exactly things that we need to think about. But in his discussions, could he say there is a potential for a sign-on bonus? And then it'd be up to us to decide what we're going to do with the sign-on.
It sounds like that should be a police committee meeting, and then a look at some scrutiny of his budget and what's left over currently, and what we can afford and how many sign-on bonuses we can offer.
What we're looking at for 2 officers?
Right now, we actually have 3 openings.
3 openings.
So enough of a sign-on bonus,
Maximum.
So $9,000 to $15,000 potentially, and then, so if you guys want to have a police committee meeting before the next council meeting, propose this. Is that, this is coming up, our graduation.
We don't have so next meeting.
Oh, okay, because the graduation's coming up here quick.
What I'd like to do is be loose enough on this that he could tell these people there's a potential of sign-on bonus somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000, and we are having the details drawn out by our attorney or something like that.
So, I mean, Chief Thompson, you've been without a full staff long enough that there's probably like the wages left over for a full-time position.
I actually just asked Stacy for the numbers today, and I think we're at $467,000 left for 2 months. So. That's not all wages.
What a sign-on bonus.
Yeah.
That number. I say we should. I'm in agreement with you.
So,
Mr. Bob. And just say potential. I mean, there is a potential that we could be able to
I want to
offer.
cap it like 3 to 5, and you're absolutely right. We don't want to sign on somebody, 2 weeks later, he said, I
Right.
quit, but I take my money and run
Right.
to, you know.
No, they have to sign on for so many years or whatever.
at
That's
least-
what most sign-ons are for. I mean, they
At
have
least for the
to commit.
probationary period, but probably longer than that, right? Like 2 years of employment, and then, or else you have to pay but then.
Chief, are you familiar with those, when somebody gets a sign-on bonus, do they have to stay 3 or 4 years?
I don't know the answer to that. I know at one point, back when I was first getting into this profession, agencies like Cheyenne Police Department said if you didn't stay for a minimum of 2 years, you owed them like $3,000 for uniforms and equipment. When you left, you had to sign some sort of a contract to that effect. I think that has long since gone by the wayside because of employee shortages. I think that has long since gone by the wayside because of employee shortages. But I know there are agencies out there offering $12,000 and $15,000 signing bonuses. I don't know what they are requiring me sign or what they're.
I'm just going to use my daughter, and she wasn't in law enforcement, she was a pharmacist, but she had to commit to so many years, but she was given a sign-on bonus.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we have the same thing for our CDLs.
I was gonna say, I thought we put something together.
Yeah.
It's a three-year commitment, or they pay it back.
Because of the cost of it. Because what does it cost now, like $4,500 to put somebody through it?
Better than that.
Is it?
With travel and expenses, we're looking at between $9,000 and $10,000 to somebody.
Well, and if they're not willing to stay, we don't want them.
So, I mean, I guess we have to come up with a framework for this offer, because it's not gonna keep till next council meeting. So, what is the council, proposing? What is a good sign-on bonus to try to get people to come to our department? I mean, you said 3 to 5, Tom, but.
Well, I think first of all, he's got to be able to pass some of the requirements. Like, first of all, he can't be a druggie, he can't be a felon, he can't, or she, you know, he
has to meet all the minimal.
If we find out that they have some of those problems, you don't get it, you know?
So, I actually went to school to Western Dakota Tech for the fire science program, and I know my sister graduated from Western Dakota for law enforcement, and they're actually required to pass the PT tests and all of the requirements to become a law enforcement officer upon graduation. So, I mean, I think it's a great program. It set my sister up for success, and she went into law enforcement for probably about around a decade.
Call her up, tell her we need her.
I don't know if she moved back. But,
So is this the discussion phase then, or am I overspeaking?
We're discussing because we don't really have the framework for a motion yet, Councilman Downs.
What do you tell your previous employees?
What's that?
What do you tell your previous employees when you're offering these guys $3 to $5 grand? They didn't get anything.
That's a great question.
They didn't have associates
Well,
to
they
be.
They'll probably
an
just be
associate's
glad to not
degree.
work 15
This
days
is
in a row.
going through and getting an associate's degree.
So, correct me if I'm wrong,
Did you get the person to do it?
so I'm sure that your present employees would just be appreciative of having some relief, right?
Indeed.
So if, you know, if that was the incentive that we had to offer to get people to come to our department, so that we have a full staff, regular 8-hour shifts, you know, more manpower, more backup, like more people to respond. I mean, I think that that's all positive, right? And I worked at the city shop, and we used to find out about each other's wages before we had a standardized wage amongst us all, because the powers that be would offer you like a specific wage depending on your experience. And then some of the other guys would find out and they were absolutely livid, you know, but I think the circumstances are a little bit different here as opposed to just haphazardly offering people whatever wage you think that they're worth, right? We have a standard for the amount, and the sign-on business is just bonus is just to sweeten the deal so that we can get people to hire under our department, which we desperately need. So, I don't know. So I guess we just need to establish what a good sign-on bonus would be, and then they would have to meet all the job requirements, background check and everything, and then it would need to stay on the department for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years before, or else they would have to pay back the bonus.
I move that we give our police chief the authority to offer sign-on bonuses to students from Dakota Tech and Sheridan of the Northeastern Wyoming schools, that includes Gillette, who have achieved the achieved the degree of associate's degree in criminal justice, and 3 to 5, because chief's discretion, $3,000 to $5,000 with a 2-year commitment, pay back if they quit, or he has to let them go in between if they're not fit.
And meet all of the job requirements.
What you
said. Probation. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
So do you have any officers with associate's degree right now?
No, I don't think I
So
have,
are you
I
not-
have a bachelor's degree, but that's it.
So are you not gonna have to offer them more money per hour than the others? If they have a degree? To be competitive?
We already do. We offer a raise, an hourly raise for associates and bachelor's degrees built into our wage scale.
If they would further their education to get an associate's degree, would you pay them the bonus?
That's a good question.
Not the bonus, but the raise.
Yeah, they get a raise.
But these people you speak of, these people that are graduating, are they gonna come here with that wage?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea, but I do know that they're from the area. I do know that their families are gonna be close. I do know that they know where the Walmart is. And we're not gonna have a lot of complaints if we get students from these two schools.
You see my point though?
Yes, I do see
Okay.
it.
That's all I need.
And we won't know until we offer.
Right, right.
Well, and a couple years ago, right, or a year ago, like we actually scrutinized our wages, or was it last year? I can't even remember, it all melts
A
together.
couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, we scrutinized the wages, we tried to give all of our departments competitive wages for the area, right? When I was on council, so did we give enough of a raise to our law enforcement to make us competitive for the area?
No.
So as simply as I can put it in perspective for you, I was talking to a trooper, and out of respect for him, I won't tell you which one it was. But we were talking about money and jobs and all that type of stuff. And he's made the comment that the last 3 years have been really good for him. And last year he cleared $133,000.
That's a
And
one
he's just a
state trooper.
trooper. He's not a lieutenant, he's not anything. He's not a sergeant, not a lieutenant, not a captain, just a trooper.
So when we were scrutinizing wages, chief, it was for local police departments. Because like, we're not gonna be able to be competitive with the state troopers, I don't think so.
I don't think there's any way in the world that we can be able to be.
So, I mean, so we need to scrutinize the local police departments. And I mean, and then I travel the whole state for work, chief, and there's lots of towns that don't even have a police department, you know? So, and they're suffering, cause I mean, when they got county policing and they're isolated and very rural, then they're lucky if they get any sort of law enforcement, support. So, I mean, we have a police department. Other towns in our area have police departments. We just need to figure out what, I mean, even in the hills, right? We're part of the hills community, even looking at some like South Dakota departments, like, are we competitive?
I don't know. I must not have presented that information to the council. I did bring it to the police committee. I'm trying to remember the numbers off the top of my head. Sundance, or Crook County Sheriff's Office is starting out somewhere around $28 an hour. Moorcroft Police Department is starting somewhere, I believe it was 24 an hour.
This is the sheriff's.
What's that?
This is the sheriff's office?
The sheriff's office in Crook County, yep.
And then Moorcroft Police.
$28 an hour. Moorcroft Police is somewhere around 24. I was trying to remember. So the Wyoming Honor Conservation Camp, which is right here, it's in, you know, the same career field. They're starting out at 25, 24 or something like that. Weston County Sheriff's Office is at 25 and a quarter, 25 and a half, something like that. Now we do have to take into account that if you work for Weston County and you have a family, you're gonna pay probably $400 a month plus for your insurance premiums. The city of Newcastle pays 100% of that premium. So that's definitely a benefit. Yeah, moral of the story is, I would say we're behind. And then if you look at the number of calls per officer, the severity of those calls, I would say that without actually sitting down and looking at it, I would project that the number of calls per officer and the significance of those calls are a lot higher here than some other areas. Especially because right now, we're essentially operating with 4 people. So we're taking a ton of calls, and we have a lot of investigations. We've done a lot of charges. Comparing it to other areas, I don't think it do nearly as much.
So maybe the wages are something that we're gonna have to look at with this, incentive. I mean, eventually, because like, maybe the incentive now, and then look at wages a little bit later, because we need to get this done, right? So, is there any further discussion? Oh, go ahead.
I think this is a really big decision and you shouldn't rush into it. Maybe you should take a little time and look into the other communities and what they do and that kind of thing. Just as a citizen, I don't think you want to rush into it. Of course it'll happen because Newcastle needs it badly, but you've got too many questions among yourselves.
Yeah, so I think right now with the motion that we currently have on the floor.
Could you repeat the motion, please?
It was.
I move that we have the chief, to his discretion, can offer a person that has an associate's degree from Dakota Tech or the Northern Sheridan and Gillette colleges, a sign-on bonus anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000, up to 3 people. And they have to have a 2-year commitment, and they have to pass all the particulars to become a police officer.
Okay.
And it's been properly seconded, so right now, the motion is to offer an incentive to join our police force, at the current rate structure, wage structure. So, is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. We'll offer an incentive to new hires to join our police force. And Tom, I thought that was a really good idea. And hopefully it has a positive effect and we're able to hire some more staff.
This particular one is going to be very limited now. We have 2 ladies and we have maybe 30 students. This letter that he is working on is going to go out to, and it's kind of a personal letter for them to get back in touch with him to discuss this.
Okay. I guess we've run the gamut and we're out of items on Police Chief Derek Thompson's list here. So does anybody have any further questions for Chief Thompson? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to claims against the city dated May 5th, 2025. We have a motion to approve the claims.
Your Honor, I move that this city pay its bills.
We have a second. We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. We paid our bills. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a discussion.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think, so going back to Robert's Rules of Order, a motion to adjourn is not a second.
I have to look it up to that. I need to look it up.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes. We adjourn at 9:52.